This is my lecture on the pressure belts of the world. We know that pressure belts are created dynamically as well as due to thermal difference. Mainly the pressure belts are created due to thermal difference, and also in some cases they are dynamically created also. Pressure belts, there are many pressure belts as we see on our in the atmosphere. Over the Earth's surface at certain regions we see specific special pressure belts. As for example, in the equatorial region we have low pressure belts, in the subtropical high pressure belts, circumpolar or subpolar low pressure belts, and also in the polar region we have high pressure belts. The equatorial low pressure and the polar high pressure areas are generally thermally created, that is due to difference of temperatures. Okay, that is the main causal factor of pressure. Low pressure in the equator and high pressure in the poles is due to temperature. We know that in the equatorial regions the temperature all around the year is very high, as the sun is vertically overhead for most of the year. Okay, so that's why the pressure being high, the air near the surface of the earth is therefore becomes warmed up, and as warm air is lighter, it evaporates and it rises above. So over the earth's surface, near the ground surface, a low pressure zone is created. This is how equatorial lows are created, as the warm air has a tendency to ascend. Now we come to the polar areas. Polar areas are generally frozen, as they remain very less sun's rays reach there. So there is a very low temperature in that area, due to which the air has a tendency to subside. Because the air in contact with the ice frozen surface is very cold, and therefore cold air is denser, it has a tendency to subside. This subsiding air creates a high pressure in the polar areas. So we see that these two air pressure belts, the equatorial lows and the polar highs, are thermally created. Is that clear to all of you, my dear student? And then now we move to the other two pressure belts of the earth, as subtropical high pressure belts and the subpolar low pressure belts. These two belts are dynamically created because as the rising air from the equator rises up, they have a tendency to sink down near the subtropics at 30 degrees north or south latitudes. So due to dynamics, means movement of air, due to this vertical movement of air in the atmosphere, these high pressure belts are created, and as the polar high pressure belts, the air has a tendency to sink down. This sinking air blows over the surface and causes as it comes over to the 60 degrees latitude north and south of the equator, there it becomes warmer. As it is coming to the lower latitudes, being warmer, it has a tendency to rise above. So this dynamics movement of air causes a low pressure in the subpolar areas. Am I clear? So students, these two pressure belts, that is the subtropical high at 30 degrees north and south, and the subpolar low pressure belts or circumpolar low pressure belts at 60 degrees north and south, are dynamically created. So these are the various pressure belts of